So before starting this video, I just wanted to say that this whole beginning part, whenever I went to go and edit it, was corrupted. So I had to replay all of it. So yeah, it might reflect differently on the story past one point. So, just letting y'all know, I had to replay all of it.
Charles IV, King of Bohemia and Holy Roman Emperor, had a long and successful reign. The empire he ruled from Prague expanded, and his subjects lived in peace and prosperity. When the emperor died, the whole empire mourned. More than 7,000 people accompanied him on his last procession. The heir to the throne of the flourishing empire was Charles's son, Wenceslas IV, whose father had prepared him for this moment all his life. But Wenceslas did not take after his father. He neglected affairs of state for more frivolous pursuits. He even failed to turn up for his own coronation as emperor, which did little to endear him to the Pope. Wenceslas the Idle did not impress the imperial nobility either. His difficulties mounted until the nobles, exasperated by the inaction of their ruler, turned for help to his half-brother, King Sigismund of Hungary. Sigismund decided on a radical solution. He kidnapped the king to force him to abdicate, then took advantage of the ensuing disorder to gain greater power for himself. He invaded Bohemia with a massive army and began pillaging the territories of the king's allies. It is here that my story begins.
Hi guys, Hidden Moon here, and welcome to a new Let's Play. Today we are playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. It is a role-playing game, and it is a historical game more than it is a fantasy game. So, yeah, and I thought it would be interesting to play, so let's go ahead and get started.
Same to you. Today's a scorcher. Well, husband, how goes it?
Good. I should get it finished today. Where on earth is Henry? I need him to run some errands.
He was still sleeping when I went out.
At this hour? Blue-blooded idler.
Well, it looks like he was out all evening, drinking like a lord.
Ooh, Dad.
Get the lazy bones up.
Damn.
Quick clout round the ear should do it.
He's a little saucy man.
Henry! Get up now. There's work to be done.
Mother. Get up or I'll come get you up, you slugabed.
Hear that? You'd better not vex him. Now get up quick. Your breakfast is on the table. Wait, what's this? Have you been... Oh, Henry. How many times have I told you about fighting?
Oh, it's nothing. It's just a scratch.
You've been at that sword play again, haven't you? You'd better pray your father doesn't get to hear of it. You know how he feels about it.
Oh, don't worry, it wasn't that. I just scratched myself is all.
Well, just don't come crying to me if you really do get hurt. Now get up, you rogue.
Oh, God. By the way, this game is early access, so it's going to be pretty buggy.
This morning. What on earth did you get up to last night?
Okay, and I'm going to go for a sneaky, like, rogue type character. Thief. So.
Nothing much. Me and the lads were just having a chat in the tavern. Some wayfarer stopped by. He was telling us what's going on in the world, and, well, I lost track of time.
Well, I hope he didn't fill your head with nonsense. Well, I've got a feeling there's something you're not telling me. And it's connected with that scratch on your hand. And that suspicious-looking character with a sword who turned up in town recently.
I was learning archery, Mom. God, why you gotta control me all the time?
No, it's just... Matthias was teaching me archery.
Archery? Do you want to become a poacher? Have you any idea of the punishment for that? And where did you get a bow, anyway?
Oh, come on. I've no interest in poaching. It's just a bit of fun.
Christ, give me strength. Just don't do anything stupid. For the love of God. Promise.
I promise.
Did Matthew and Fritz come looking for me?
No, I haven't seen them this morning. They shouldn't be hard to find. They'll be hanging around a tavern somewhere, as usual.
Mom, don't judge them like that.
That's unfair.
Really? So where were you until the small hours last night?
I was... with Bianca, of course.
You mean at Bianca's tavern? And who was there with you? No, don't tell me, let me guess. Matthew and Fritz. Well, at least you were with Bianca. You should hold on to that one, Hal. She's a clever girl. And invite her for supper sometime. Your father's very fond of her.
Of course he is. He thinks he'll be able to wheedle the secret of beer brewing out of her.
You're right there. You'd think he was planning to become a brewer in his dotage. Still, that's your father for you. At least he's interested in something, unlike you lot. You're too busy getting into mischief to do an honest day's work. If Fritz and Matthew carry on this way, they'll wind up swinging one day. You mark my words.
Can I get something to eat?
I'm
There's some
hungry.
breakfast on the table. Help yourself.
Is Father angry with me for sleeping late?
He's not happy. Yesterday you promised him you'd help finish that sword for Sir Radzig. He's not as young as he was. And you know how his joints pain him. He's too proud to complain, but he needs your help, Henry.
I know. Don't worry, Ma. Of course I'll help him.
Good. He always says his knees ache when there's a storm coming. I hope they're wrong this time. It's looking like such a nice day.
Do you need me to do anything, Ma?
Ah, you're a good lad. But I'm fine. It's your father needs helping with that sword.
Alright, see you later, Mom. Mom. Okay. Let's eat something. Good lord. He has to bend down and pick up everything. Alright. Let's get some nourishment in our body. In our weak body. Oops, I dropped it. Where'd it go? Oh no, my soup, it fell face down, it's all gone. Eat from the pot. Perfect. Now I'm a pig. Good. Alright, Dad. What do you need help with? There goes my mom.
Come here. At least you're up. That's a start. Anyway, we've a lot of work to do today. I'm finishing the sword for Sir Radzig, and I need your help.
With what?
I'm running out of charcoal. Run to the market and buy a bag from the charcoal burner.
I'll need some money then.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Kunesh still owes me for an axe, a hammer, and the nails I sold him a month ago. Not to mention his debt from before. Go and tell him to pay up, at least for the axe and hammer, and then use the money to buy the charcoal.
Kunesh? That drunkard? That'll be fun.
Well, you're a big lad now. I'm sure you can manage. If not, tell him that next time I'll come myself and personally use that hammer to bang those nails into his arse.
Sure I'll be happy to hear it. Is that all?
Not quite. The Chamberlain at the castle has the crossguard for Sir Radzig's sword, which I had engraved in Sasau.
You want me to go and pick it up? All right. Money, charcoal, crossguard. Got it.
And ale. Stop off at the tavern on your way home. I know you'll be going there anyway to see that girl of yours. But make sure the ale's still cool from the cellar when you get back.
Her name is Bianca.
Yeah, Dad,
Right,
respect
so
the
make sure
women.
Bianca draws me a nice cool one. Run along now. Work won't wait.
Okay. Alright. So, we need the crossguard, ale, money, charcoal. Got it. And then I need to go and fight that dude too. Give me my crossguard.
I'll be with you.
I'm with you, Henry.
How are you?
Father sent me. We're forging a sword for Sir Radzig, and the Chamberlain has the crossguard and grip. Father had them engraved in Sasau.
Right, they're here. The Chamberlain gave them to us for you. We looked them over. Beautiful work. I've never seen anything so fine.
I can't wait to see the sword. Just make sure you don't botch it.
When did I ever botch anything?
Where shall I start?
Ah, shut up and give me what I want, or I'll kick your ass this evening.
Right away, your lordship.
He just had it in his back pocket.
Magnificent. Shame I can't keep the sword for myself. Well, I'd better go if we're to get the job done by this evening.
Godspeed. See you later in the tavern.
You certainly will. After today's work, the ale might even be on me.
Bye, guys. I'll talk to y'all later.
You there. Thief, you stealer of debts. Give me my
I'll
shit.
be with you, Kanesh.
What do you want?
My father sent me to get the coin you owe him for the axe, hammer, and nails.
I've got nothing. Clear off.
I knew you'd be trouble. Father says if you don't pay up, he'll come here himself and hammer those nails into your hairy arse.
I'd like to see him try. Fuck off, you bastard, or your old man will be pulling those nails out of you.
You motherfucker. You motherfucker.
If that's the way you want it, I'll tell Father you won't pay and you can tell him what you told me.
I have to sneak in.
A locked chest. I'll need a lockpick to get into that. Fritz might have one.
Oh. I need that axe. Quick. Go away. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I did it. Holy shit. An axe is mine, you motherfucker. See ya. Alright. Then I need a bag of charcoal, but I can't really get it right now. Oh, I need a...
Teach me sword fighting, combat master.
Have you recovered from yesterday's great wound?
That was nothing. Except Mother noticed and had a word or two to say about it.
No mother's happy when her son starts to take an interest in swords. Where there's weapons, there's death. The question is, what do you want?
I don't want to rot in this hole forever. I feel like I don't belong here. I want to live and see the world. But the world's a dangerous place and I need to know how to protect myself.
Spoken like a man. And as it happens, today's your last chance. I have to leave. So, are you ready to get stuck in?
Yes.
Yes?
Alright, I'll wait on the ground by the sheepfold as usual.
Perfect. Let's go. We don't have all day. Sheep. Sheep. My lovelies. How cute you are. They're so scared. Not this one, though. This one's good. Oh. Aw. My little friend. Y'all are so cute. Look at your little tails. Let's do this.
So, can we get started?
Yes.
We can.
Good. And since today's the last time we'll be seeing each other, you can show me everything I've taught you so far. Very well. Let's start with the basics. Keep moving. Your life depends on it. All right. Now try to hit me. You have to put your weight into your attack. If you just fiddle around, you'll get nowhere. Try slashing from different sides. Unpredictability is the key. Never repeat yourself.
Got it. Huh. 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 Huh.
The point of the blade is for stabbing. Try it a few times.
Huh. Huh. Take that. And this. Ha.
Good, good. Let's try something else. One strike, I can fend off without a sweat. But if you chain your strikes, I'll have a much harder time. As soon as you land one blow, follow it with another.
Awesome.
All right, that's enough. I don't know about you, but I'm tired and thirsty. Remember though, train hard. No one becomes a master swordsman overnight. You have to work and work. And the main thing is to use what you've learned in real combat. There's nothing better than experience, believe me.
Yeah. No problem. I can get that done. Alright, let's go and see my lads, my bros over here.
You can't be serious, Deutsch. Insulting our king.
What insult? I say only the truth. Sigismund has done only what he had to.
He had to abduct the king. He had to lure his cousin Prokop into a trap and imprison him. He had to invade with his army of Tatars and besiege Kuttenberg.
Why not? What is this Wenceslas for a king? The empire is falling asunder in his hands. The German counts elected Ruprecht of the Palatinate as king because your Wenceslas would not go to their deeds even.
German counts, traitors.
Now even the Pope
God be with you, Henry.
I'm with you, Matthew. What's going on here?
Deutsch is spouting shit.
What?
Just listen and you'll hear for yourself.
Someone has to bring order and reunite the empire.
Yeah, revolution.
What do I care about the Austrians? And nowadays, not even the devil himself can keep up with all the popes. Which is the rightful pope? The one in Rome or the one in Avignon?
Do not blaspheme, Alex.
It's true, though. Wenceslas is the king of Bohemia. Bohemian nobles are on his side. To hell with Rosenberg and his cabal. Sir Ratzig is Wenceslas' commander-in-chief. He stayed loyal to the king. And if he heard you talking like this, he would have you whipped like a dog.
Your deed will soon have nothing left to rule. Jobst had to sell Luxembourg to help your king. South Bohemia is with Sigismund
and don't forget about Kuttenberg, where Germans like you kissed Sigismund's feet to keep their heads.
Yes, but...
Goodman Deutsch, this is pointless. Let us talk of more pleasant things.
My words exactly.
Deutsch has gone too far. Wenceslas is our rightful king.
Deutsch is an idiot. But what can you do? I might have an idea. Deutsch deserves to be taught a lesson. Doesn't he, Fritz?
You're too right, Matthew. Should give him a proper hiding.
Are you mad? Do you want to end up in the pillory? Don't listen to Fritz. I've got a better idea. Deutsch was talking such shit, it made me think of that huge parliament. You know, the one right next to his freshly whitewashed house. You think we should redecorate for him? Count me in.
Well, I'd rather torch it, to be honest. But throwing some tears will do.
What do you say, Henry?
But I was going to get ale for father and a few other things.
What a fucking square. Come on, you loser.
Come on. Throwing a few handfuls of manure is not going to take all day.
And it's our duty to defend the honor of our king. So, Hal, are you with us?
Let's do it, my dudes.
Alright, I'll do it. But then you have to give me a hand with something.
What do you need?
Kunesh owes money to father and doesn't want to pay. I tried talking to him, but he wouldn't listen. I need more than words to get coin out of him, and I can't handle it on my own.
No problem. We'll back you up. Just as soon as we're done plastering Deutsch's house.
I'll be happy to sort out that drunken oaf.
Alright, let's go while Deutsch is still sitting safely in the tavern.
Yes. Let's go. We're just a team of mad lads here. What up, lads?
Listen, there's this locked chest I need to get into.
Really? An honest trade not good enough for you anymore?
It's just that someone has something that doesn't belong to him, and I want to take it back.
If you say so. It's not skin off my nose anyway. I've got some lockpicks you can have. But if you get caught, you didn't get them from me.
Never heard of you. Thanks, Fritz.
Yeah, got me some lockpicks. What's the plan here, my dudes?
So are we doing this or not?
Wait. We have to check that the coast is clear.
Why? The Deutsch is in the tavern.
But maybe you noticed after all these years that he has a wife and a son.
And that's a problem?
Aye, it is. Henry, you go and lure her away somehow.
Why me?
Because you're the clever one.
Yeah.
I am pretty smart. Hey, lady. Go get your husband.
What do you want, lad?
I just went by the tavern, and your husband was in there talking nonsense. I thought someone should take him home before he gets himself in trouble.
What sort of nonsense?
Well, he kept saying that Sigismund was right and King Wenceslas is a drunkard, that sort of thing. Some people took exception, so I thought...
God almighty, the fool. Next thing he'll start on about the popes.
He might have mentioned the popes too.
Thank you for telling me. I just hope I can catch him before he gets into another fight.
Alright. Good luck with your husband. Alright, guys. Guys, the coast is clear. Let's do it. Come on, let's go. Guys, let's go. We're trying to humiliate him here, but, like, we're grabbing shit with, like, our bare hands. So, like, what the fuck?
Fire the trebuchet! For king and country!
For king and country, my ass. This is all good, clean, fun.
Nearly as good as having that traitor in the pillory. Nearly. Now that would be sweet.
That's for Sigismund.
Woohoo! Eat shit, Deutsches.
You bastards! What the fuck do you think you're doing?
Hey, Hans, can't you see? We're decorating your house for you.
It's like your old man was saying in the tavern about that traitor Sigismund. We're just doing what we have to do.
Oh, sons! I'll make those smiles off your faces!
Oh, I'd like to see you try. What are you doing here, Zbigniew? Hanging out with this poxy Deutscher? Maybe you'd like to try out the latest German fashion.
Shit, damn. That was like, you need to be a pitcher, dude.
Fucker. I'll make you pay for that.
Aw, yeah, let's fucking beat the shit out of him. Oh. Get away! Run! Run! I don't want the catchpole to get me. No. Hey, Dad.
Dad, give me money.
About time. Have you got everything I wanted?
I went to see Kunesh, but he wouldn't pay, and then he threatened me.
I might have known. I'll sort him out this evening. I've no time for him now.
But without Kunesh's money, I can't buy those other things you wanted.
Here's coin for the charcoal and the ale. I'll get it back from that mongrel this evening.
Good. Perfect. Alright. Now. There is a, there's something in here that I need to get. It's in here. Yes. Perfect. Let's save. By the way, I have the save mod, so yeah. There we go. Alright, let's take all of that. And there was another chest too, right? Yeah, it's in here. Take all of that. Let's talk to these lads. Hey, lads.
Well, we sorted that Deutsch out.
That was pretty close, eh?
That old bastard didn't stand a chance.
True, but I'm worried that fucker Hans will snitch on us.
Well, let him. Then I'll snitch on him. And anyway, what can they do to us for throwing a bit of dung?
Good point. It's not as if anyone really likes the Deutsch.
I need a hand with Kunesh.
Sure, mate. You helped us, so we'll help you.
Let's get to it then.
Yeah, let's fuck them up, guys. Come on. Come on, lads.
Kunesh, get out here, you old goat. I've something to show you.
Yeah, come here, you old goat. It's raining? What? Did you yeah, it's raining, huh? It's all sunny outside.
What the fuck are you here for? You want me to take a whip to you or call a catch pole?
Just try it, you old drunk.
Bitch. Fuck you.
Enough! Enough!
Yeah, I
give
fucked him up.
Take what you want. It's not much, but it's all I have. You understand?
You got your just desserts, Kunesh. I'm gonna take your shit now. And let's buy us some charcoal.
Good health to you.
And you too. Praise be unto Jesus Christ. I need 10. And I would like to sell you that, and that. Okay, fine.
Oh, that's a decent...
Cool. Yeah!
I'm feeling lucky today. How about you? Dice?
Oh, he only has 1 gold. Are you for real? Sure. I'll bet 1 gold. Perfect. Yeah, got 1 groschen. Sorry, dude. Cleaned you out of house and home, huh? I gotta talk to my girlfriend.
Good help.
God save, my lovely. You're looking well today.
You too, handsome. What brings you here?
You do, obviously.
Your beauty, of course.
Oh, noble sir. I'm as honored as any simple maid can be. And apart from my beauty, what else might your worship desire?
Oh shit, she's really talking me up here. I need a pitcher.
I need ale for father.
A pitcher as usual?
Aye. Bring me a cool one from the cellar.
But of course. Here you are.
Thanks.
It's on me today. You can pay me back this
Oh,
evening.
I'll pay you
Out of the
back
question.
good this evening,
Here
I
you go.
promise.
And this evening I'll have something more for you.
I can't wait.
Thanks. You'll have something to look forward to this evening.
You too. Oh, by the way, that shifty-looking fellow was asking after you.
Vaniac?
I suppose. He's a man who makes his coin robbing honest wayfarers. I'm sure of it. I'll be happy when he's gone for good. But what in heaven's name are you up to with him?
He promised to teach me how to use a sword.
What use would that be to you?
Enough. You sound just like father. I'll be going now. See you this evening.
Hal, I've got something special for you.
Is that so? Now what would that be?
A dick suck?
Your favorite, Savior Schnapps.
Oh, what do I need with those for?
You're an angel.
I hope you'll thank me properly later.
Oh, I will. Oh. Oh. I don't need this shit. Man, can I sell this back to her? I don't need it. I have the save mod. Alright, fine.
Very well. I agree.
Oh, that reminds me, I have like points and shit. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Let's do Gravedigger, because if I'm going with a like sneaky, like thief type build, if I knock somebody out, I probably want to be able to carry them, so, and quickly. So yeah. Oh, those are the guys that were talking with that dude. Will y'all talk to me? I want to talk about politics. Hello. Okay, fine. They don't want to talk to me. I'm too much of a loser. Dad! I have everything. Are you satisfied? Are you proud of me? Please validate me.
Yeah, about time. Have you got everything I wanted?
I have charcoal, the hilt, and the ale. We can start.
Good job. Let's have it then, son. Well done. Right. Let's see what kind of job the master in Sasau did for us. Look at that, lad. Well, that's what I call craftsmanship.
What does the inscription mean?
Damned if I know. Doesn't look like Czech to me. Latin, maybe? Lord Radzig ordered it. This will be the finest sword I've ever made. Have you got the charcoal? Good. Then fire up the forge. We'll put it all together. By the way, someone paid me a call. I reckon you might know what it was about.
I'm not sure.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure you and your friends threw dung at Deutsch's freshly whitewashed house. He was here with the catchpole earlier, and it was not a friendly visit. What got into you, Hal?
That Deutsch was talking treason in the tavern about Sigismund and the king. He got what he deserved.
Got what he deserved, did he? You can go and clean up the mess you made and apologize to him. I have a trade to run. The German pays well, and having my son in the pillory helps nothing and nobody, least of all the king. You understand?
Yes.
Look me in the eye, Henry. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. And we'll never have this conversation again.
So you think it's right to let traitors speak ill of our king?
The boy gets caught making a fool of himself, and he still hasn't learned his lesson. So Deutsch spouts rubbish, and what? You turn into a common thug. You might win a fight with violence, but you'll never win an argument. Remember, Henry, if you want to convince someone that they're wrong, try using your mouth and not your fists.
Exactly. Spoken by a true man. By a true intellectual.
The furnace is ready.
Right, we'll do the grip. I'll heat it up, and when I take it out, you slip the grip on so it fits exactly. You know what you're doing.
God damn, dude, you're not gonna wear any gloves?
Do it. Good. Once more. That's it. Done. Now file it down so it sits well in the hand. I'll prepare the guard.
Father, why did you leave Prague? Who ever heard of a master swordsmith making horseshoes in a village?
I had my reasons, Hal. And here I have your mother and you. Why would I want any other life?
Oh, you sound so genuine. Thanks, Dad.
I do. Life was good under his reign.
Better than now.
He built half of Prague and a score of castles, had a bridge made over the Moldau, and founded a university, and all without a war. He knew how to rule.
Better than Wenceslas.
Better by far. But Wenceslas doesn't have it easy. It's hard to step into the shoes of someone whose like is born only once 1,000 years.
What about Sigismund?
Do you think Charles would have brought an army down on his own people like Sigismund? No. Wenceslas may not be the equal of his father, but Sigismund, he brings shame to the royal name. How's it going? Give it here, and we'll put it all together.
It's magnificent.
Indeed it is.
Valyrian steel.
The Lord be with you. My father sent me for those nails.
Good day to you, Teresa. They're ready. Will you fetch them for me, Hal? They're in the trunk in the living room.
Oh, I already have them. I took everything out. Here, take these nails.
Here are those nails you wanted.
Thanks. So, how's Bianca?
She's fine. Why do you ask?
Just wondering, will you be going to the dance this evening?
We will.
Maybe we'll see each other there. Anyway, mustn't keep you. I'll be on my way.
Sorry, girl,
that sword is truly beautiful.
Does every girl in the village just love Henry? Ooh, you checking out that ass?
Fine lass, eh? Now, stop staring at her and come and see this. It's time for the trial by fire. We did a fine job.
I would expect nothing less from such a renowned swordsmith.
Well, those days are gone, sir.
You haven't lost your skills, though. Would you like to try it?
Sir, what good is a sword to a commoner?
Let him try it.
Wow, what a fucking loser. Now I understand why he didn't want me to swing that sword.
You still have a lot to learn. Ask your father to show you how. He knows what he's about.
Learning his trade will serve him better in life, sir.
Perhaps. But who knows what the future holds for each of us. I see that you almost have it finished.
It just needs a polish, then Henry will bring it to you.
Excellent. Fine work, very fine. A sword such as this will bring honor to its bearer. What say you, Svan?
True, Sir Radzig. If I'd have had its like back in Nicopolis, things would have worked out differently.
How much you want to bet that either one of these guys or both of them are evil?
Such an accomplished swordsmith working in a place like this. A man of his talent would have no problem making a fortune in Prague or Vienna.
You're right. It's a very long and peculiar story.
I'd be glad to listen to it over a cup of wine, but duty calls, and I must leave. Here you are. Learn from your father. He truly is a master of his craft.
I'm sure our paths will cross again.
They certainly will.
Oh yeah, they're definitely evil.
Once it's ready, send your son up to me with it. Good work, Martin.
Sure.
It's been an honor, Sir Isvan. Have a safe journey to Sasau.
The honor is mine, Sir Radzig. Thank you for the hospitality.
A long, peculiar history. That was a long time ago. I might tell you about it sometime, but not today.
Will you teach me how to use it like Sir Radzig said?
Why?
Well, it could come in useful. Maybe I'll travel a bit before settling down. I'd like to know more than the tavern on the green and the forge.
You know the trouble with an adventurous life, son? It can end before it gets started. I might teach you how to handle a sword, and then someone will shoot you with a crossbow as soon as you set foot outside the house.
You talk as if you've seen it happen.
A man my age has seen a lot. Being a blacksmith might bring no glory, but it has its benefits, like keeping your head on your shoulders. I want to end my days in Skalitz, here, beneath the linden tree and by your mother's side.
Well, so do I, one day. But first, I'd like to see the world, meet new people.
Meet them or beat them?
Meet. You have to keep going on about it.
Then you've no need to learn swordplay.
A messenger.
He was in a hurry. What's happened? Listen to me, Al. Listen carefully. Take the sword, go into the house, and grab anything else important from the trunk. Go to the castle. Hurry.
And what about you?
Your mother is in the village. I'll fetch her and we'll follow right behind.
I'll go with you.
No. You'll do what I say right now. Give the sword to Sir Radzig. If anything happens, he'll take care of you. He owes me.
No, Bianca! My love!
Quickly! We have to close the gates!
Move! Come on, we're closing!
Move it, people!
Come on!
We're running
Come
out of
on!
time! Oh, Henry! Thank God! Get inside, quick! We have to shut the gates!
Get running, people! Come on!
Mind this for me.
Are you mad? You can't go back! Ah!
Get through the gates!
Come on, Hal! You can still make it! Run! Find a horse! Ride to town, Merc! Tell them what's coming! Warn them!
Run by the moats! There's a path down there! Jump down from the wall and flee!
You seem a little upset that I escaped. I wonder why that is. It's probably because you're evil. I know it in my gut. You're evil. Fucking get the fuck out of here. Cool. How do I get on? Mount it. No, jump! What the heck? Wait, I'm stuck. Holy shit. Oh my god. This is so confusing. God damn it. Get the fuck out of here. We gotta leave now, Hal. Let's go. Get the fuck out of here.
Left. Talmud is to the left, along the stream.
Are you fucking serious? What the fuck?
Warn the others. They've torched Skalitz.
Guys, run! What the fuck?
Warn the others.
or just leisurely walking. Oh my god, there it is. Please, please. I don't want to die. Serpentine. Oh, thank God. Shit, sick dodge.
Jesus Christ!
Quickly, everyone! Get your asses here!
Hey! And loose!
Haku, Husungine! Quickly! We're closing the gate!
Someone give him a drink. And bring hot wine and bandages. Tell me, boy, who are you and where are you from? What in hell's name happened?
I've come from Skalitz. They burned it to the ground. Slaughtered everyone.
Who? Who burned it to the ground?
A huge army. They attacked without warning. And they weren't Czechs or Germans either.
Who then?
I don't know. I've never seen armor like it or heard their language. Maybe Tatars?
Tartars, you say? Yeah. Well, we'll deal with that later. First, let's have a look at that leg of yours.
I don't know.
Grit your teeth, boy. I'm gonna pull that arrow out.
In the Middle Ages, a significant part of any property ownership consisted of livestock: horses, goats, cattle, and poultry. Horses were highly prized, and until the 12th century were only available for nobility, for military purposes, and for light hauling. The change came in the 12th and 13th centuries when horses came to be used for transport and tillage. In Bohemia, horses began to be shod from the 11th and 12th century, up to the 13th only as a rule on the front hooves, and later, when horses were used for heavier work, on all fours. Almost every serf in the Middle Ages would prefer to own a cow than a piece of arable land, so even some landless folk had access to food by way of milk. Curiously enough, in the Middle Ages, milk and dairy goods were not traded much. For one thing, many people had a cow of their own, but also because no effective means of milk and dairy product preservation was yet known. Sheep were kept by both serfs and the upper classes, largely for their wool. The poorest often kept a goat for cheese and milk. Pigs were left to forage in the woods all year round, feeding on beech nuts and acorns. Medieval pigs were much like wild boar and had little in common with today's pink animals. The most commonly kept poultry were chickens, and only rarely geese or ducks. All cattle grazed freely on the meadows around the village. In heavy winters, the livestock was kept inside the house, even sharing the same room with the people, and serving as a source of heat. There were shortages of clean drinking water due to pollution of watercourses by human activities around rural settlements, and fruit juices were available only in season. Hence, everyone, including children, drank beer. The beer brewed at home was weaker and heavier than today, contained 1 to 5% alcohol, and served instead of soup. It had no head of foam, was brewed from wheat, so-called white beer, or from barley, old beer. Only in the 15th century did hops come to be added for better beer quality, bringing out a bitter flavor. Wine was drunk primarily at court and in the monasteries. It differed from today's by its spicy, very sweet taste. It would be condensed into a thick syrup and diluted with water. Spirits were altogether rare. Distillation took place in small volumes. Fruit and cereal distillates were again weaker than today's, about 15 to 20%. The most popular drink was mead, made from fermented honey dissolved in water. Collecting and preserving written records goes back to ancient times, but the barbarians who sacked Rome in the 5th century destroyed a great many, so a lot of rare manuscripts have only been preserved indirectly via the Arab world. Various materials were used to write on: pieces of fabric, papyrus or vellum, fine animal leather. Parchment was expensive and was therefore used primarily for codices and deeds of privilege due to its significantly longer lifespan. The most widely used material was paper. The writing implements used included the quill pen, engraver, brush or reed cane, charcoal, and chalk sticks. The transcription of books was the monk's domain. Each book was unique, carefully decorated, the text enriched with bounteous illuminations, all done by hand. The production of a book took many years, making them very expensive. Major works of that time came into being in Latin, but during the Middle Ages, some literature began to appear in the respective national languages. Books were very heavy, so as to be hard to steal, and contained a great many pages, although there were some miniature handbook formats too. There were books so massive that they couldn't be carried by one man. Not only because of their value, but to protect them from destruction, important writings were often kept in chests or cabinets. Only later did libraries come into being, where the volumes would be tethered to the reading desk by a chain. Libraries were needed by administrative offices and places of learning, especially universities. The largest collections were to be found at the Sorbonne, Oxford, and University of Prague, where there were books donated by Emperor Charles IV himself. Notable members of the nobility or the church also boasted private collections, despite the fact that not all of them could read. In the Middle Ages, wagons were used for transport, agricultural work, and for wartime purposes. One of the simplest was a two-wheeled cart, while hay wagons, hay wains, were also to be seen. The oldest high-wheeled cart had one central axle connected to the undercarriage. From the 14th century on, twin-axled, four-wheeled wagons came into use. The front axle was not steerable, resulting in a very wide turning radius. Wagons did not have a seat for the coachman, who either rode astride one of the horses or walked alongside the wagon. In wartime, a wagon could be turned into a mobile field palisade, a strategy that became famous especially during the Hussite Wars, when the strategy of wagon walls won more than one battle for the Calixtines Hussite forces. Since earliest times, it was the task of the educated members of the court or spiritual leaders to take on the writing of chronicles, i.e. literary works describing contemporary events, the lives of their rulers, great battles, and sometimes even everyday life. Records were kept in chronological order, and as well as giving the dates, they provide a wealth of historical information. They are among the best sources for investigating and revisiting the history of the country, famous people, places, buildings, and day-to-day affairs. There are different types of chronicles: world, national, episcopal, monastic, royal, dynastic, provincial, tracking genealogy, urban, biographical or autobiographical, travel journals, and more. The most important Czech chronicles included those of Cosmas and Dalamil, the canon of, Vysehrad. I'm sorry. I'm probably butchering some of these words. I'm so sorry. The writings of the Sasau monks and the Zabrovslav Chronicle. The chroniclers generally enjoyed the most favorable conditions, most lived at the courts, had free access to older written records and courtly life, and plenty of time to devote to writing. Although chronicles are the most valuable historic source, when reading them and extrapolating their historical ideological subtext has to be borne in mind. For example, Cosmas wrote his chronicle with unabashed sympathy for the Premislids, while Dalamil showed great antipathy against the Germans. Both occasionally mix up facts with myths and legends, e.g., beginning Czech history with the beginning of the Tower of Babel. Some of the books to be found in the game are a transliteration of chapters from Cosmos or Dalamil, e.g., the account of Forefather Czech and Maiden's War, etc. Clothing for villagers and other commoners above all had to be comfortable, durable, and practical. It had to last for years and be worn in all kinds of weather. It generally consisted of simple shirts and tunics. Men also wore linen knickers down to their knees, and in winter they wore hooded cloaks, fur jackets, and caps. Wide-brimmed hats protected their heads from the sun, and footwear was simple. Most items were of natural colors without ornamentation. An exception was festive apparel, intended for special celebrations and church holidays. In the towns, clothing held greater significance, reflecting status, wealth, and even membership in certain factions, such as tradesmen, soldiers, or apprentices. Accessories included belts, bags, gloves, hats, and other head coverings. Most of the garments in Kingdom Come Deliverance are based on actual historical records of medieval fashion. In the 14th and 15th centuries, unwed young women had long hair, which they wore down or in braids. Women in towns adorned their hair with ribbons, pearls, wreaths, and vines. Older married women wore pearled nets on their heads, white or colored veils or hats. Fashionable men in the 15th century had long coiffured hair, and they liked to shave their chins. They covered their heads with brimmed hats, caps, or hoods. In the Middle Ages, jewelry was fashioned from gems, wood, leather, and metals. All gold tended to be worn around the neck and breast rather than on the hand. The most common type of jewelry consisted of earrings and various types of crosses. The most common motifs adorning jewelry were flowers and animals. Figural decoration was often associated with religious themes. Rings were very popular in the High Middle Ages and were worn for both prestige and symbolic meaning. They were either made entirely of metal, mostly bronze, in rare cases silver plate or copper wire, or adorned with precious stones and worn on all fingers. Footwear was made of leather, cow, calf, goat, as well as grass, straw, bast fibers, wood, cloth, or felt. In the countryside, people often went barefoot in the summertime. Shoes were originally made from a single piece of material and fitted with straps. Soles, left and right, on shoes first appeared in the mid-14th century, while heels were added in the 15th century. The most common type of footwear consisted of sandals that covered the entire sole of the foot and slippers made of wood or cork. Stitch shoes could be either low or above the ankle. Eumenical councils were ecclesiastical assemblies of representatives who discussed and debated on the topic of faith and church administration. For example, the Great Council of Constance, 1414 to 1418, which lasted 4 years and dealt with the issues of the Reformation and the Papal Schism, and also condemned the preacher Jan Hus of Hersey, resulting in his execution by burning. The medieval nobleman spent his leisure time hunting, playing games, singing, or playing a musical instrument. Special entertainments consisted of tournaments, dances, and plays. Books were rarely read because they were rare and expensive, and most of the nobility was illiterate. In the countryside, there were also many opportunities for amusement. Work was strictly forbidden on church holidays and on Sundays, and there were many more feast days than there are today. In the case of certain professions, the working week could also be interrupted due to weather or unpredictable events. In all, there were about 190 working days in the year, roughly 20 days per month, or 4 to 5 days a week. The most popular medieval board games were chess, draughts, checkers, backgammon, mill, also called Nine Men's Morris, Nephitaffel, fox and geese, and dice. Ball games were also played. Chess was costly and time-consuming to play, and was therefore restricted mainly to noble circles. Burghers favored draughts, and common folk were fond of the simpler games of dice and mill. Cards and card games already existed in Europe at the end of the 14th century, but only spread more widely later with the spread of printing. The bourgeois emulating the nobility in their leisure time, took to bird shooting, for example. During the 15th century, archery fellowships began to form in the townships. Gambling was also widespread throughout the Middle Ages, regardless of gender or status, which is evidenced, for example, by the Maesta Carolina Act of December 1357, in which Emperor Charles IV himself forbade gambling at Christmas time and commissioned Prague Archbishop Arnost of Pardubis to penalize offenders of any social class with fines as well as spiritual penance, in extreme cases, even excommunication. Fabrics were made from plant and animal fibers. Bast fibers especially were used from the very beginning, from willow and linden trees, as well as various grasses. Later on, particular plants were selectively cultivated to be particularly suitable for cloth production, such as flax or hemp. Hemp fiber is tough, rougher, and darker than flax, but unyielding, hence not too suitable for clothing and better utilized for ropes or strings. Cotton was unknown in Europe until the late Middle Ages. The most widely used animal fiber was wool for its good insulation properties, high absorbency, flexibility, and ease of dyeing. It was combed and shorn from sheep. A highly prized and rare import from Asia was silk. Christianity was adopted in the Czech lands as early as the 10th century, though certain pagan practices remained until later, especially in rural areas, blending seamlessly with rising Christianity. Some of the folk customs were later modified according to church instructions, others continued unchanged, and yet others were eradicated completely under church pressure. In addition to a deep faith in saintly patronage, the saints Wenceslas, Vitrus, Nicholas, Ludmilla, Adalbert, etc., the Middle Ages revered the Virgin Mary and the various patron saints of the professions. One manifestation of medieval piety consisted of wayside shrines, conciliation stones, or crosses put up in large numbers in villages, at intersections, and along the main byways. In royal cities, the liege towns, it was important to collect holy relics, remains, and memorabilia to mark the saints. The cult of saints was encouraged, and cathedrals and churches gained prestige with the relics they held. It need not be emphasized that most of the relics were fakes, and that nobody took much issue with it. Devotion was shown in everyday life and accompanied everyone from the cradle to the grave by way of church rituals, occasions for worship, religious holidays, or regulations. For example, the numerous fasts or Lenten days. In some way or other, everyone believed in God. For complete atheism, we have to look to later centuries. Unlike today, when the land has long been given over to agriculture, the burgeoning of farming in the Middle Ages brought the need for new fields where they were only forests or untilled land. The timber from forest clearing was used for construction. The remaining roots, stumps, and scrub were burned, and the ground then leveled. The finished fields were cultivated by the three-field system. A third of the land lay fallow for 2 years to recover nutrients. This was used for grazing livestock, which added manure. It was then returned to use and tilled, while in turn another third, which had been used for raising crops, was left to lie fallow. There was thus regular crop rotation to save exhausting the soil. In the earliest times, plowing was done with a simple device called an ard, or scratch plow. Where the soil was stony, working it was very hard. The tiller had to keep watching the plow and used great force to push it into the ground. Similarly, clumsy and imperfect were the harrows of the time. After harrowing, any remaining clods of earth would be crumbled into a mattock or wooden mallet. This work was typically done by women and children. The most common crop, wheat, used to be full of weeds and as such not very economical. 15 largest sheaves yielding only about 18 kilograms of grain, often even less. Harvesting often had to be done using only a sickle for cutting. After drying, the grain was threshed out. Vegetables and legumes were cultivated to a greater extent than today, grown in fenced gardens next to houses. These were mostly peas and lentils, but also vetch and beans, and around the villages flax and hemp were grown extensively. Hops were grown in signorial fields for the liege lords' breweries. Since ancient times, a foreigner meant not only anyone who came from outside one's town or village, and was thus a potential enemy, but also any person without legal status. Foreigners were without legal rights until they paid a surety. This matter was handled by courts of law, and there were various regulations setting fees for running a business or renting a house. Foreigners were not allowed to acquire or inherit ownership of them. The Bohemia lands were long open to foreigners, relatively speaking, with lively trade and cultural exchanges. First were the Celts, then Germanic tribes, and later the Slavs, but a large portion of the populace consisted of German-speaking people. The Germans were mainly courtiers or worked entrepreneurs and merchants. Relations with the Germans were neutral at first, cooling off later and ending up with animosity against all things German, though that was still far removed from the strident nationalism of the 19th century. Worse relations existed between the Czechs and Germans on one side and the Jews on the other. They lived outside of society, which often, having got permission from the king for a handsome price, carried out pogroms against them. Plague and disease in the mid-14th century affected migration, and fewer foreigners came to Bohemia. During the Hussite Wars, most of towns had a majority Czech citizenry. Only the main centers in Moravia remained largely German: Brunn, Iglau, and Olmütz. The Czech language gradually permeated from rural society to the higher social strata. A fundamental change in how language and ethnicity was viewed came with the Hussite Wars, in which most Czech speakers identified with the Hussites, while most Germans supported Sigismund and the Pope. This was exacerbated by the foreign, often German, crusades summoned by Sigismund against the upstart Hussites. At the beginning of the 15th century, Czech furniture was made of planks and boards using construction of varying intricacy. The timber used was oak, fir, walnut, linden, ash, larch, or spruce. The surface was treated with beeswax or linseed varnish. By the end of the Gothic period, shellac varnish came into use. Staining was done by smoking, using fermented cabbage water or blanching with lime water. Tables and chairs had much the same design, with flat side panels or X-shaped boards. Chests were made in various sizes for keeping dried goods, garments, or other small items of property. Townspeople slept on beds with drapes. Village homes were very simply furnished. The peasants made their own furniture from split and dressed planks and posts. In peasant cottages, they slept on beds of hay or straw laid on the ground. Joiners and carvers decorated furniture with ornamentation. The most expensive furniture had metal elements, which served to brace and reinforce as well as having a decorative function. Most of the furniture in KCD is based on medieval examples from the 12th to 16th centuries. The basic form of greeting was bowing, with numerous variations depending on the occasion and the mutual status of the participants. A light bow with the hand on the heart would befit two noblemen of equal rank. A deeper bow was a more respectful greeting to a guest or someone of higher standing. The next level was to kneel on the left knee and bow the head in deference to rulers, barons, or high-ranking commanders, and it expressed allegiance. The person would have to remain in this position until invited by the superior to rise. The most subordinate level was to bow while down on both knees, an expression of complete subjugation, often combined with a plea, typically for mercy. Doffing headwear was a practice that came in with Burgundian fashion in the 15th century. Loyalty was expressed by kissing the rings of magnates and prelates. It was not proper to kiss the hands of ladies, but they were given a deeper bow than their social rank alone would elicit. Particular forms of salutation also applied when addressing a certain person, e.g. in writing. For example, a townsman was to be addressed as honest, a baronet as esteemed, and a titular lord as highborn. In the countryside, people greeted each other according to their nature, often mentioning in the greeting wishes of good health, prosperity, and God's blessing, or making reference to Christian tradition, God blessed, Christ be praised, etc. Medieval town society was made up largely of craftsmen and merchants who ensured its socio-economic growth. Based on their freeman rights, they could exercise their craft and had the right to market. In addition to privileges such as the protection of and support for the town's operation, healthcare, and food provision, it was their duty to pay taxes on every sale or transport of goods outside the town limits. In essence, the status of the municipality was dependent on them. Hence, it was important that they did not relocate and ply their trade elsewhere, passing their occupation on to following generations. In the space of 1 century, several craftsmen of the same profession would be active in a town. These artisans gradually began to form themselves into groups with political and economic rules, or members' guilds. They had their seals of office and pennants bearing the guild crest granted by the monarch. Each member of a guild had the support of the others, and they all agreed on prices and the regulation of sales, and the rules for apprenticeship and discharging their duties. No one without guild membership could trade in goods. Heraldry is the doctrine of characters and symbols depicted on coats of arms, governed by fixed rules, and the relevant know-how was privy to nobles and knights. It was a necessity because Europe of the time had so many noble families they simply could not be memorized. By applying heraldic symbolism and rules, however, the wearer and his dynasty could be identified from his battle pennants and coat of arms. Simplified heraldic symbols was also used on the arms and equipment of urban militias and the attire of soldiers of a feudal lord. The core of the medieval house, whether in a village or town, consisted of a kitchen, a hall, and living room, hearth room. All were on the ground floor. From the 15th century onwards, upper stories started to be added. The walls were insulated from the outside with clay daub, which also gave the house some fire protection. Windows were kept very small to save heat. The grounds of the house were usually fenced in, and the courtyard had gates broad enough to admit a covered wagon. Attached to houses were utility buildings, barns, stables, outhouses, forges, and wood sheds or food granaries. Waste was taken outside the house into the fields or disposed of in cesspits. Outside the house would be toilets built over sewage pits. A typical village house was single-story, with the front door leading in from the courtyard into a central space, off which was a living room and a chamber. The houses were built of wood on stone foundations. The jizba, or main room of village households, constituted the living space and kitchen, with an oven and a hearth. Above the hearth was a smoke hole to the roof space. Other areas served as stores for cereals, tools, food in jars or chests, etc. Lighting was provided by torches, candles, and pottery candlesticks, and most of all by firelight from the hearth. The floor was compacted clay mixed with straw, leaves, or animal hair. The roof was typically thatched, sheaves of rye or reed straw often doubled. In front of the house was a garden and a courtyard with farm buildings for poultry, pigs, and cattle. Although the more educated or higher-born tried to keep invective and vulgarities out of their speech, swearing has been part of the vernacular since time immemorial. Profanity was not only verbal, but often appeared in written form in documents that sought to defame and humiliate those addressed. Some of the slurs arose by corrupting foreign language expressions. Others were derived from animals and their attributes. Often used as insults were onomatopoeic words, articulated noises, or metaphors, words derived from adjectives, attitudes towards work, criminal offenses, political stances, professions, psychological malaise, or people's names. The worst kind of insult questioned the honor of the individual. Such swear words quite often led to court cases or duels. It was common practice that anyone not prepared to defend their honor would indeed lose it in the eyes of those around. The Jews settled in Moravia and Bohemia probably even earlier than the 10th century. Initially, they were considered foreigners who the Romans had banished into exile. Jewish traders in the Czech lands settled largely around the long-distance trade routes in major centers, which in the early Middle Ages were Olomouc, Brno, and Znojmo, and the central Elbe River in Wurens. Most lived in Prague, however. Records tell of about 120 houses in a demarcated Jewish quarter of the Old Town. They were under the legal protection of decrees by Wenceslas II and subsequently Charles IV. Over the centuries, however, the flourishing of their activities as merchant and financiers gave rise to protests from many elements of society, in particular the Catholic Church. The Jews had indeed imported valuable gold and used it to barter for horses, furs, and slaves. Their rights became progressively circumscribed. They could not buy land or horses or houses, had to live in specially designated ghettos, were allowed to lend money at interest, usury, and to trade only where they were not in competition with locals, and were prohibited from working as craftsmen or farmers. The segregation of Jews was also underlined by enforced labeling. They had to wear, for example, a yellow circle or yellow ribbon on their garments, or a specifically shaped hat. The women had to have a yellow ribbon in their hair, and the men mandatory beards. No help came from the church, which traditionally laid the blame on them for being the killers of Christ and for adhering to pagan rituals. In the Middle Ages, the Jews were considered the king's own and under his protection, so that if the townspeople were inclined to commit a pogrom to set fire to the quarter and massacre the inhabitants, they would have to pay the king hefty reparations. Some kings looked forward to such pogroms as a good source of income. Others protected their Jews. For example, Wenceslas IV granted the Prague Jews the right to their own town within Prague, with its own wall and 6 gates. But even this failed to protect them from the pogrom in 1389, when the king was traveling abroad. After his return, he levied the ultimate punishment on the organizers of the pogrom, which quelled further attacks for some time, though they made a comeback with the Hussite movement. The territorial army or provincial militia drew on nobles, princes, lords, squires, with their retinues, the garrisons of clerical dignitaries, bishops, and from 1344 on, even the archbishop, the militias of royal towns, village bailiffs, and custodians. It served to defend the land and was called up as needed by monarch. In the 14th and early 15th centuries, both Czech and German were spoken in the Czech lands. German first appeared after German colonization and made its way largely into the towns. The upper classes and literature, love poems, and bureaucratic language. Czech had evolved from Old Slavonic and was spoken by the poorer residents, becoming an official language only during the reign of Charles IV. Apart from these two languages, there was Latin, the language of books, chronicles, learned treatises, official deeds, and documents. Latin was the language of the Church and the Bible, and served as the medium of international communication. The development of the Slavic language and its emancipation was the domain of the monasteries, including Sasau, from the early Middle Ages on. The preacher Jan Hus was one of the pioneers of fostering the Czech language. As for literature, Czech found its due place from the early 14th century in various genres: spiritual and secular lyricism, love stories, epics, and dramas. Among the oldest examples were legends, e.g. about Judas Iscariot, Pontius Pilate, and Lives of the Saints, knightly epics, chronicles, and satires. Apart from official documents in Latin, correspondence was written in Czech from the end of the 14th century. Locks and keys in ancient times were made of wood, later of metal. Progress came with the year 1000, with the invention of automatically falling latches and the wider use of key locks. Fixed locks were supplemented by padlocks protected by a metal casing. In the Middle Ages, there were also plug lock systems in use, as well as more advanced designs with a turning key. According to archaeological finds, locks were commonly used in the country, even though ordinary latches were typical. The richer townspeople and nobility had their locks richly decorated. As late as the 14th century, locks were fitted to the outside of the door. Towns and cities always had to look after their budgets, so they collected taxes, custom duties, tolls, and ungelt goods tariffs. The most common form of tax was paid twice a year in an amount dependent on the assets of each respective citizen. Another source of civic revenue money were monies made by the city council or the city court for the making of contracts, documents, records, and other ongoing activities. Fees and taxes were paid by the city residents based on their business, levied on products sold or services provided. The treasury also collected money for interest payments, fines, building funds, loans, and various forms of letting and rentals to serfs. Written and records were maintained of all revenues. The city council paid out some of the money for the purchase of real estate, paid the nobility for defense and security, invested in schools, civic cultural development, churches, administration, and the salaries of city officials, construction, operation and maintenance, and the upkeep of municipal buildings.